It's Friday, June 13th, 2025. Welcome to Make It Make Sense. I'm Grant Herms. So I know there wasn't a show yesterday, even though I said there would be. It's because some really big news happened, and I had to wait to get it out until today because I was waiting for the right interview, and I'm really glad that I got it. Today is my conversation with Mike Madrid. He's been on the show before the election. He's the author of a fantastic book called The Latino Century and now runs his own Substack. He is a longtime Republican political operative from California who also is a member of the anti-Trump Lincoln Project. And we talk all about this really big news that happened yesterday, which is the arresting of California Senator Alex Padilla. And maybe arrest is too strong of a word for this, but Padilla tried to enter a press conference with the Department of Homeland Security Kristi Noem. He said who he was and then was forcibly removed by Secret Service agents and then thrown to the ground and handcuffed in the hallway outside. In all of my time being a reporter, I have never seen anything like this. It is frankly beyond the pale of what you would expect of federal agents. And I talked to Mike about whether or not this is a watershed moment for what we've been seeing happening in LA and in California, whether or not we've seen the needle move when it comes to how Latino voters think about Donald Trump and his administration right now, and what this also means for our elected leaders, whether it's people like Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, and Democrats writ large, but also where are Republicans who should be standing up in this moment as we are seeing elected representatives treated like this. Before I get to that, though, please follow and subscribe to the show on whatever podcast app you use. Like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications on YouTube. And sign up for the Make It Make Sense Substack, where I broke some news this week. You might be seeing this hotline go around on social media that's called the GI Rights Hotline, that's meant to help service members work through and know their rights when it comes to things like disability and discharge rights, but also things like conscientious objection and what they should do if they don't think that the orders they've been given are legal. Well, that hotline going viral has now gotten the attention of the White House, and I wrote all about that in an exclusive story for Make It Make Sense. That article is up for free right now, but so many other great pieces are not. It is $5 to become a subscriber, and it really helps out the show and lets me keep doing great work just like that. So please sign up today. If you don't want to do that, I totally get it, but please share the show on social media. It's MIMS News Pod. That's MIMS News Pod, all one word on every platform. I am at Grant Herms on Twitter and Blue Sky, and at Grant Herms TV on everything else. All right, let's get to my conversation with Mike Madrid just hours after California Senator Alex Padilla was taken away in handcuffs by federal authorities. Man, this thing, I saw it and I watched it a couple times, and I wasn't even sure what I was seeing at first. And then the first video of him getting manhandled and thrown out of the room is one thing. And then I came across the second video that I think was put up by his staff of him getting handcuffed. And I have never seen anything like this. I've never seen an elected official treated this way at any level of an elected in politics. I mean, Mike, you've known him for, 25, maybe 30 years at this point?
Yeah, 25 years. Yeah.
What was it like for you to see him get treated this way? I mean, as a sitting senator and also a guy that you know who doesn't act like this often.
No. I think that's the most important point, Grant, is anybody who knows Alex and has known him for a long period of time, he's the most methodical, peaceable, calm, level-headed person, not even legislator. Throw in the lobbyists and the consultants and the pundits and all that. He's just very well respected because of his temperament. He's a tall man, broad shoulders. He's a big dude, but he's gentle. And I don't mean he's meek. He certainly has a presence, but you can just tell his disposition is towards calm reflection and reasoning and understanding. And I've had long talks with him saying, you need to get out there a little bit more, punch out there a little bit more. He's just like, it's just not my style. And, let the cards go where they may. And what the hell did I know? I mean, he became a U.S. senator with that, so it worked for him. But to your point, to see him like, kneel down, put your arms behind your back, face down on the carpet. It's like, what? It was just beyond the pale. I mean, you can almost imagine that with, like I was saying, some of the more performative members of Congress, but not Alex, just not Alex.
Right. And for me, I mean, like, and I said this on social media as well, is after the Department of Homeland Security sent out their statement about this thing, which I don't know if you saw it, I'm sure you did actually, but they said that he didn't announce himself as a senator, which he absolutely does in the very first 2 seconds of the video that we all saw. It's there. But there is just no way that I can believe that Kristi Noem didn't know who he was, or that the Secret Service around her didn't know who he was. I mean, he's on the Judiciary Committee. He's the ranking member for the subcommittee on immigration. There's just no way.
He voted to confirm her.
Right.
When you're going through the confirmation process, everybody, every member, whether you think you're going to get your vote or not. You are studying them, looking at them, trying to figure out the way to 50. It's absurd. Any casual observer of politics knows who the California senators are. The cabinet member of Homeland Security certainly knows.
Right. Watching this happen in your home state, what has this been like? Whether it's this thing, as we're talking today with Senator Padilla, or we can broaden out to everything that's been happening in LA and the way that Angelenos have been treated, the way that elected officials in California have been treated. But what has it been like for you to watch this?
I have to be aware that it's kind of hitting me differently, because I try to advise or give an answer to this type of a question. I want to be as clinical and objective and kind of give my best, But I know Alex. I know LA, intimately. That's where I'm from. And and I know so many people. My phone's been blowing up just because around this town in Sacramento. I mean, we all worked with them for 15, 20 years. And it's just so inconceivable. It's literally hard to describe, because if you know him, it's like, that's not him. And I tweeted this out. I was like, if you know him, like how impassioned and angry he is, because not that he was like, and he wasn't charging, he was trying to gather his feet and stand his ground a little bit, which there's nothing wrong with that. But for him to, at the end, the last time when he says hands off, like they're attacking him, trying to defend himself. And I think it's really emblematic of the way Latinos feel right now. And I had a woman who I've worked with for 20 years texted me just kind of we weren't even talking. She just said, if anybody thinks that our socioeconomic status or our education levels are going to protect us from this administration, there are no special people of color. This is just not that administration's way. There just is not. And I think that this moment is going to wake up a lot of folks who are kind of like, I'm still with them. I'm still with Trump. I still, we got to fix these problems, and realize there is something bigger at play here. And it's not going to be nearly as big as it should be. The movement away from him, it will probably be shockingly low. But what I have learned is that this whole progress toward rebuilding our national character and regaining our national virtue is going to happen drip by drip. And this is one of those drips.
And you mean the move away in the Latino community? Because Trump did peel away a lot of those people. I mean, I was going to get into this later in the interview, but let's just do it now. And I've got your book on the shelf behind me. It says right here.
Yeah.
Like, it's fantastic. When we talked before the election, it was all about the economy. And like, is that still the case? Watching what's happening right now in LA with immigration, with Padilla being the first senator that this has happened to, because I think it's important to point out that the first senator that this has been done to was a Latino.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, look, as always, Grant, you're asking the right question. And really fundamentally what the question is Latinos have been moving to the right because they're voting more economic pocketbook issues, and they're further away from the immigration experience. So they're assimilating, as it's been kind of a traditional trajectory for so many ethnic groups in this country in the past. But when a moment like this, when an external event happens and crystallizes the sentiment of that text that I got, which is, It doesn't matter if you went to MIT, Alex, which you did. It doesn't matter if you are a United States senator and was the youngest president of the Los Angeles City Council and served in the state Senate for 8 years and served as the Secretary of State of California for 8 years. None of this matters. What matters is you were a big brown guy who wasn't behaving. And that was justification. And I'm the last guy to kind of wield racial and ethnic cards like that. But I mean, you can't tell me that wasn't a part of what was going on here. Of course it was.
I don't think it's wielding a card if it was the reason that this thing happened. And the reason that what we were seeing in California happening is happening the way that it's happening. You know, I don't think that's pulling a race card. I think that's the intended goal. You've got Stephen Miller screaming at ICE agents and officials saying, why aren't you at Home Depots and 7-Eleven instead of going after criminals? Yeah. Like the shade of the color of brown you are is the point.
That's the probable cause that they have. That's all they need. And that's what they're doing. And that's what these raids, that's why so many people are getting swept up. You are getting U.S. citizens. You are getting, people that are here with legal protected status. You see some of these videos, like people just rounding a curve and going to a Home Depot or some guy walking in front of a church and just getting, kind of attacked and seized. And it's like, how do they know that guy's undocumented? Did they know? Right? And of course they don't. It's just, it's a numbers game, right? They're not necessarily when you've got a quota of 3,000 people a day, it's a numbers game, man. It's like telemarketing. You just got to make 1,000 calls a day to get to the 3 sales you need to get to. And if you don't call 1,000, you ain't going to hit that 3. It's as simple as that. Sweep up as many people as you can. People that meet a certain profile. If you're a Latino out front of a Home Depot, grab them.
Right. I mean, I just wrote about this on the Substack this week that so many people, I think it's like 2/3 of the American population is technically within a border patrol immigration 100-mile zone where technically under the way that the government, and this is both Republican and Democratic governments have acted, that we have fewer rights within those 100 miles of the border. And it covers like 8 full states, I think 11 or 10 states partially, but it is 2/3 of the entire population of the U.S. And so this isn't, I don't think, going to stay in California this weekend. No. You've got strategic teams heading to places like Chicago and New York and Philly and a few other places. I think Houston is on that list too. I don't remember entirely right now. But this isn't going to stay in L.A. at all.
No. I mean, no. New York City, the entire state of Florida.
Yeah, the entire state of Florida is under this 100-mile rule. Yes,
the entire state is. So it's of course, that's where the population centers are. Right. That's where, the jobs are. I mean, large part. I mean, there's obviously a lot of rural stuff going on in Kristi Noem's district, right? When she famously proclaimed, we're all border states now. We're all under siege. It's like, your industries are the ones that are seeking labor and recruiting undocumented labor to work in your slaughterhouses, to work on your row crops, to work in your chicken farms. Like your businesses are recruiting them. It's not like they're just walking up and knocking there. It's like your people are out there financing pathways for people to come illegally because you've got jobs that you need to get done.
Right. You've got that happening. And then I think at the same time, this is a good point to talk about this too, is the thing that just happened today, which is the CHNV, temporary protected status holders, the Cubans, Haitians, Venezuelans, and Nicaraguans, 532,000 of them are being told that they're no longer in the U.S. legally, despite having come in legally, following some frankly pretty onerous rules to get that parole status. That's going to hit places like Florida really, really hard. The Venezuelan community, the Cuban community there, the Haitian community there, it's going to be devastating, which is also technically Trump's home state now. Does that, as you understand Latinos, does that change the calculus in a place like Florida?
That's such a great question because, look, let's take a step back and understand that the whole narrative of the Republican Party over the course of the past 4 years or so has been, we're winning over immigrants, we're winning over Latinos, But at the same time, they're cracking down and trying to, not just the undocumented. Like I said, the goal is to terrorize the entire community so that it trickles down to the immigrant community.
Mm-hmm.
So where they're making progress, and you are seeing these videos now, right? The Latinas for Trump, president has come out and said, you're terrorizing the community. Stop it. Like, I thought, we worked for you. We bled for you. We got you the highest numbers ever. And I didn't think you'd do this to us. And it's like, why didn't you think that? He does this to everybody. And there he is. And so, yeah, you're seeing more and more voices coming out. Now, is it having a material effect? Boy, Grant, I'm so past the point of being shocked and surprised by people's resilience and stick-to-itiveness with this guy, even when they're deporting spouses, even when they're breaking them away from their kids, even when they're dying from, COVID-19 because they don't want his COVID numbers to go up. Like, it's a cult. Let's just call it what it is. There's a cult. These people have been programmed through intensive, sophisticated media operations. If you can't change your mind or see what's going on because of that, I'm not too sure that, deporting 530,000 members of your family and friends and neighbors is going to make a difference. I'm not convinced. I hope so. A reasonable person would say, obviously. A professional political consultant would say, probably. But in this environment, I don't know.
It's just so strange to me to think about, like, a place like Doral, Florida, right, which has a massive Venezuelan population. And those folks are now told that they can't stay in the U.S. anymore, and they're going to get deported to a level in which I think a lot of neighborhoods and main streets in Doral County might be empty.
Yeah, devastated economically, just ravished.
Yes.
Because again, it's just not those local economies. This is the essential workforce that is keeping prices down. Look, we dealt with it last time when DeSantis was, pushing this stuff and rebuilding from the hurricane. You can't rebuild without Latinos. They're building the fires in LA. You can't rebuild the Palisades or, you can't. You can't. Good luck with that. There aren't enough non-Hispanic construction workers to build what we need to build. And, that's growth. That's economic, growth. So we're shutting off the basic underpinnings of and you saw him tweet today to Trump, about the agriculture and the hotel economy. It's just, oh, wait a second. We'll back off of that. These are good people. And they're finding out that they're good people after all. It's like, yeah, they're good people. They're working for slave wages, not asking for anything but to, work quietly and bother nobody and slink into the shadows so that you can enjoy your luxury experience. That's what this is. And, you demonize them. And then, once you drive them out of your workforce, you realize, oh, wait a second. We can't live a life of luxury. We can't have cheap, nice meals. We can't have things delivered to us. We can't have our lawns manicured and maintained. We can't have our children cared for by nannies. We can't have all of these things because who else is going to do it?
Right. Is that the thing that changes White House policy on some of this? Is it Trump's, I can't believe I'm saying this, is this Trump's resorts get hit by not having landscapers, by not having housekeepers, by not having cooks in the kitchens of his Trump buildings and hotels and resorts? Is that how we get a change in this policy? Or is it too far down?
It's too far down. I think what's going to happen is his buddies, which is what happened. His billionaire buddies, agribusiness is calling and going, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're going to kill, crops are going to start rotting in the field. We're in strawberry picking season. Guy, we're in picking season right now. Early summer is, we need to pull this stuff out of the ground. If we don't for a couple of weeks, half the nation's produce is going to rot. Like we're pulling lettuce and cauliflower and artichokes and strawberries out of the ground. We don't have enough people to do that anymore. And if this goes on for a few more weeks, we're done. And the same thing with hotels, which travel season. People are taking vacations. Like, who do you think runs hotels? Who's going to turn over your bed? Like, who's going to serve the food in the restaurant? Like, you're killing us. And then there's this aha moment. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, they don't care about the small hotel. They don't care about the small farmer. They care about the billionaires, the agribusiness, when the big chains and the CEOs call him, go, dude, you are killing us. Then he goes, oh, wait a second. Maybe this is not such a good idea. Maybe this was too well thought out. And that's what's going on.
So then that puts that and Stephen Miller and his ilk in the White House, Stephen Miller, Tom Homan, on a collision course with the phone calls Trump is getting and what they're saying. Who wins in that fight?
Well, Grant, I mean, let me say again, really good question. So much of the Elon Musk fallout was about H-1B visas.
And for listeners, those are the business visas for folks who come in to do high-skilled work.
Yeah, high-tech work, skilled work. The Silicon Valley labor, the tech guys, they need, engineers and skilled people. And Steve Bannon was saying, screw you. We need to educate our own people to do these jobs. Elon Musk is a bad guy. So the populist wing, led by Steve Bannon, the Steve Millers of the world, the nativists that don't want anybody else here, went to war with the tech bros, who are obviously a huge part of this party, and the agribusiness people, right? Bannon does not like these people. These are the globalists. These are the rich people. These are the people that he wants to have this institutional revolution with. And Steve Miller just wants all non-white people out. So if you had asked me 60 days ago, I would say Elon Musk wins that fight 99 times out of 100 because Trump listens to his rich buddies. But he can't overcome those dark angels inside of him when it comes down to just getting rid of brown people. That's clearly where he just resorted to. And that's why, in large part, Bannon was successful in being part of pushing Elon Musk out. So the question is, all these birds now chirping, these billionaire birds chirping in the ear of Donald Trump about we need an ag carve out, we need a hotel carve out. Who doesn't need a carve out? Virtually every industry needs a carve. We all need immigrants. Look, I mean to get off on a tangent, but that's the fight. That's the short answer. Is Miller and Bannon they won the first round? The second round is now with bricks and mortar businesses. The tech bros lost round one. We're going to see if the old Chamber of Commerce style businesses can win rounds two. But the bigger point is this: the economy needs immigrants, not a few, a lot more immigrants. The country we're about to hit population decline. School enrollments are starting to drop. The workforce in the next few years is going to collapse. That's going to have serious national security implications, serious financial repercussions. The only people that we can't have babies fast enough to get people working in 2 years. The only way that you can actually backfill the workforce is through immigration. And we fortunately are the one country where people actually want to come. People are fleeing China to get here to work. Like, if we just maintained our population levels, we will be at a significant national security advantage. Sorry if this sounds so abstract and so peculiar, but this is what is happening. And so what are we doing? We've got all of our senior citizens hooked up to an IV drip who are moving into nursing homes, who, are railing on all of the illegals while they're coming in and cleaning their bedpans and turning over their beds and frankly paying into the tax system that's cashing their Social Security checks to keep them secure in their old age. And it's madness, right? Because you've got a president who's not only not leaning into this, he's actively forcing out the one significant advantage that we have.
I'm trying to figure out how the best way to ask this here. So if the first fight was Silicon Valley, the second fight is brick and mortar, it's agribusiness, it's construction. I think maybe the third fight, or maybe a parallel fight, is in Congress, is among Republicans. And I don't know if you saw Steve Scalise today answer the question from CNN about Alex Padilla being.
I did.
I don't know. Are we going to call Padilla arrested? I don't know. Like, he technically wasn't detained, but he was put into custody.
Handcuffs are dragged off.
So, he's put in handcuffs, and Scalise says, well, if he was treated like anybody else, then I think that's fine, which was a shocking answer to this thing. And it does not appear that any Republicans are rushing to say that this thing is wrong. I think Lisa Murkowski said it was wrong, and she was disgusted. But where are Republicans on this? I want to talk about Democrats in a second here, because I do want to talk about Gavin Newsom. But, if the first two fights are in business, is this other parallel fight in the GOP? And is that even a fight? Is that even going to be a thing that happens? What are you hearing?
I don't think that the average Republican can turn away from their populist nativist base. They can't and they won't. Look, I think what's going to happen is the tech community and the brick and mortar community are going to realize the Republican Party is not the friend of business anymore. And that may sound very strange to a lot of people, but the truth of the matter is it has not been for a while. The Republican Party is the party of tariffs. It's the party of closed protectionist markets. It's the party of instability. It's the party that is supporting dictatorships rather than free democracies, which are really bad for business, by the way. So the business community has not been comfortable with this from day one. And incidentally, Donald Trump sees the power of the presidency as a way to leverage money out of these big, huge businesses. That's a big part of what the play is. So at a certain point, the billionaires are going to go, wait a second, right? Like, this doesn't work. And when they go to the Republicans in Congress, they're not going to get, the time of day from them. Donald Trump's not with them. So, at a certain point, I think what's happening is these members of Congress and these business groups are realizing that they have enabled this so much that it's now consuming them. As we say in the political business, don't feed the alligators. Don't feed your enemies because they'll eat you. They're alligators. That's what they do, right? If you start giving money and encouragement and support to the alligator's going to eat you. And that's what's happening is the alligator is eating its own right now because that's what alligators do. It doesn't see, they're not a party of ideological compatriots. They are a party of advantage and power.
So then is there a home for these businesses in the Democratic Party right now? Because I think that's the bigger question that Democrats have been asking, well, there's part of it since the election. But you've got somebody like Gavin Newsom right now stepping up into the fray. Is that a signal to some of these people who feel, partially digested by the alligator of the Republican Party, that that's a place they can go? Or do you think Newsom is a one-off in this moment? And then let's talk about Newsom himself in a second here.
The Democratic Party is transforming into a party that is protecting institutions. In many ways, because the Republican Party has lost and forsaken its own ideological underpinnings, its own ideological mooring, it is required that the Democratic Party do the same. Why is that? Because as the Republican Party has decided, okay, we're going to scrap conservatism and we're just going to be anti-establishment, we're going to be countercultural, and we're going to be anti-institution, the Democratic Party has had to expand its base from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to Liz Cheney and protect institutions. It's why the one mantra that is holding the whole coalition together is protect democracy, whatever the hell that means. What it basically means is we're going to protect institutions. We're going to defend the institutions, not just voting, not just the Congress, but the media, academia, all of these things that have made civilization work for a very long time. We are going to be the party that defends these things. And in a populist moment, which we're clearly in this country, that's an indefensible position. You have to defend a lot of things that just don't work, that people don't believe in anymore. And that's the Democratic Party's real problem is it has had to forsake its own ideological moorings and be like, okay, we will start to drill more oil, as Joe Biden had to. We will start, providing, I can go on and on and on, right? The Democrat, and this is where the left, the Bernie Sanders AOC wing starts saying, wait a second, you're just becoming corporate Democrats. Like you're all working for big business. There's a lot of truth to that. Okay. And so that's why I say if anybody is looking at the spectrum as right versus left, man, you've missed the last decade. It's top versus down. It's the people that are protecting, defending, and running institutions against those that are trying to actively tear it down. And it's why so many people of color, so many working class people have left the Democratic Party because they're like, we're not buying into what you're selling anymore. These institutions, if they ever worked for us, they're certainly not working for us now. So we'll throw in with these guys that are just against the parties themselves or against the system. And let's see where that plays out. And where it's playing out is this moment, which is a real healthy one. It's not a stable one.
Let's talk about Gavin Newsom and the responses that he's been giving to what's been happening in LA. Is he meeting the moment in the right way, do you think? Do you know Gavin Newsom? I
do. He knows me. I know him. We don't hang out or, go on vacation together. But he certainly does read my stuff. I have been a very sharp critic of his and I've complimented him greatly when he's doing the right thing. So he's keenly aware of who I am, and I'm keenly aware of who he is. He is meeting the moment. Is he meeting the moment at the right way? I think it's better to say he's meeting the moment in the only way. I just wrote a piece on Substack. I wrote an op-ed piece for the Sacramento Bee, so make sure you saw it, which is basically whether this is a battlefield conversion, this shift away from, the podcasting with right-wing provocateurs and becoming now the tip of the spear against Trumpism. It doesn't matter, because the realization of the Democratic Party is we can't negotiate with Trump. There's no deal to be had. He's not trying to make a deal. He's trying to steamroll the whole thing. And he's not looking at political polls to make a calculation on his best place to go. He doesn't care. He's trying to secure and control as much of the infrastructure of the country as he can so that polls don't matter anymore. That's the objective. Okay? And so a governor has no choice, right? You don't have a choice. If they're not going to negotiate with you, the barbarians are at the gate and they want to enslave your children and draw and quarter you, you're not going to be like, hey, guys, let's work this out. Like, I'll give you, whatever I've got in the safe. They're going to take it all. So your only recourse is to fight. And that's what he's doing. So is it the right thing to do? It is the right thing to do. Is it tenable? I mean, I don't know. The President of the United States has an awesome, awesome power. And I think that's a big part of what's going to be happening here is Democrats will be rewarded politically with base Democratic support simply by fighting with the tone and tenor of which the Republicans are bringing the fight. I think it's a little bit more than ironic that the last two politicians in the last 3 days that have made national headlines were Californians because of the aggressive nature of pushing back on the attacks on our state and what it requires at the moment.
Do you think that Newsom in this way, Padilla in this way, are the roadmap for Democrats going forward? When Cory Booker did his filibuster, not filibuster, a lot of people said that this was the roadmap, and then it just sort of dissipated. This feels more tangible in California.
Well, I mean, Cory Booker, and I like Cory Booker a lot, but Cory Booker was making an argument, right, for righteousness, and what he was setting the terms of the debate.
Yeah.
And what Cory Booker did was the Democratic Party was scrambling because it was completely lost. It's not atypical for a party that's quote unquote in the wilderness, right? In the wilderness, a party is a party that is trying to figure out, you don't control either house, you don't control the executive office, you don't control the courts, you got nothing. So you're kind of wandering around aimlessly, and that's not atypical for parties. We've been through that quite a few times in the past 20 years or so, both sides. What's different about this moment for the Democrats is this. The two philosophical underpinnings and absolute rock solid beliefs of the Democratic Party are that they were the party of the working class and they were the party of people of color. And both of those groups are fleeing the Democratic Party. And so what do you stand for? Because if you're relying on this as a base and those are the two fastest groups leaving you because of your policy positions, what does that mean? Like, there's a real existential crisis. And I hate that word, but there's no better word than that one at this moment, right? And so what Booker does is Booker goes to the floor of the Senate when everyone else is just kind of still in this stunned haze going like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And the Trump campaign is like, executive order, executive order, executive order, like, push all of our cabinet members, like, take over, take over. Booker makes the moral argument with the filibuster. And that's what it was. What Gavin does is Gavin says, no, we're going to take it a step further and we're going to use weapons and fight our way out of this with the moral arguments that Booker essentially makes. And then Padilla steps into the void too, saying, we're fighting. California's going to fight. And I think that Democrats nationally are going to respond to that. And I think you're going to start to see that energy on Saturday with these protests.
That was the next thing I was going to ask you before I let you go, is that early this week in an episode of the show, I said that a lot of people are calling LA right now a powder keg, and I think that's the wrong analogy. I think it's a snare, and that Los Angeles and California is the rabbit, and what Trump is waiting for is anybody to spring that trap. And Do you think that might happen this weekend as you have these protests all over the country while the president is trying to hold this military parade for his own birthday? You know, what happens when this thing gets set in motion?
There's a couple things to understand. First of all, LA is not a powder keg, because you're right. There's not an explosive sentiment in the city at all. In fact, I've got an office down there. I've got clients down there. I get journalists calling from downtown all the time. Most of them are like, we don't even know where this action is happening. It's happening in such a very small part of the downtown area of the city.
Yeah, it's like 3 to 6 blocks total. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And downtown LA is, pretty much deserted anyway. It's absolutely deserted at night. So when all this activity you're seeing, it's not like you're seeing like the Watts riots or the 92 Rodney King riots. Like none of that's going on. Okay. At all. So it's not like it's a powder keg waiting to just throw a match on it. You can throw a match on it and people like, whatever. Right. And I said this kind of flippantly. It probably wasn't the best thing. I was like, LA knows how to riot. This is not a riot. Like our Lakers championships are more destructive than this. Okay. I mean, it's true. And that's true. I shouldn't be flippant about a serious situation, but it is absolutely true. But I think that's to your point, which is there is, and here's my great hope, is that what we're going to start seeing is peaceful protest with the American flag on Saturday, because that recaptures or rebrands what is happening. And it could use the LA unrest as a launching pad to say, no, America's going to stand up and we're not going to do it this way. There's also no question in my mind that there are professional agitators that are doing this regardless. They're seizing the moment, because you're not seeing people who really care about this issue this way being violent and being destructive. And the best indicator of that is how quiet the streets of Los Angeles are right now. The city is terrorized. It's not bubbling with anger, although there is righteous anger. We saw that with Alex. But what there is there's more fear and protection and just stay home. And in fact, a lot of retailers are reporting that their numbers are so far down because people aren't going out and shopping. And that is going to affect the local and regional economy.
I want to ask quick then, when you say professional agitators, because this is also something that the president said as well.
Yeah.
Do you mean that they are like bought and paid for by Democrats to be there, by Republicans to be there? Or do you just mean that there are people who are actively there to
cause mayhem,
stir up, to cause panic?
I think that there's probably both. I think that there was people from the right, people funding right-wing efforts were funding stuff during the summer of George Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is happening here too. Would I doubt that it's also coming from the left? I would not doubt it, because look, our foreign enemies, one of the challenges of a democracy like ours in a globalized economy is it's really easy to move money to pay bad actors to do bad things. And it can come from all sorts of sources. It could come from foreign governments. It could come from, right-wing money, left-wing money. It could be all of it. And the desired goal is the same, which is to divide the country in a way that makes it irreparable for us to stop working. China has an interest in that. Russia has an interest in that. Iran certainly has an interest in that at this moment, is funding these efforts to make consensus impossible. And that's what I think we're realizing, is they've been extraordinarily effective over the past decade in doing that.
Mike, that's everything I had, man. Anything here that I'm missing?
No, I hope that captured it. I can be a little wordy sometimes. I hope this is where you wanted it to go.
No, absolutely. I mean, we're talking about this, and it's only a couple hours, maybe 4 hours, or maybe 5 hours after a lot of this has happened. So, this is our first initial thoughts. So I really appreciate you coming on and doing this. Really, man. Thank you.
I appreciate you reaching out, man. It means a lot. And I appreciate our friendship and always a good conversation.
I want to thank Mike again for coming on the show, especially on such short notice. You can follow him on his Substack, where he's got great thoughts all about what's happening in American politics right now, especially through the lens of Latino voters. I consider it vital reading for me to understand how to tell you all about this show. He's got a great new article out in the Sacramento Bee that's from that Substack as well. I'll have links to all of that in today's show notes. And that is it for today's episode. Please rate and review the show on whatever podcast app you listen to this on. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications on YouTube so you don't miss out on any new video episodes. Sign up for the Make It Make Sense Substack. And as always, share the show on social media. It's Mims News Pod. That's MIMS News Pod, all one word, on every platform. I am at Grant Herms on X and Blue Sky, and Grant Herms TV on everything else. Thank you so much for listening today. To all the fathers out there and father figures, happy Father's Day weekend, and I will talk to you next week.